13th to 14th century, Singapore as a settlement. The events from 13th century to the 14th century. On the year 1300s, the port of Temasek is founded by Sang Nila Utama, a prince of Srivijaya. On the year 1320, the Mongol court sent a mission to obtain elephants from Long Yamen or Dragon Tooth Strait, believed to be Keppel Harbour. On the year 1330, the Chinese traveller Wang Zayuan visits Temasek. On the year 1390, Parameswara, the last Srivijaya prince, flees to Temasek. Another event, Marco Polo have also sailed by Temasek in the late 13th century. The legend of Sang Nila Utama. Sang Nila Utama was a prince of Sumatra. Wanting to find a suitable place for a new city, he decided to visit the islands off the coast of Sumatra. When he reached Riau Island and was hunting a deer, he started chasing the deer and came to a very large rock. He decided to climb it. When he reached the top, he looked across the sea and saw another island with a sandy beach which had the appearance of a white cheesecloth. When he asked one of his ministers what land it was, he was told it was the land of Temasek. He then decided to visit Temasek. However, when his ship was out at sea, a great storm blew up and the ship was tossed about in the huge waves. The ship began to take water. To prevent it from sinking, his men threw all the heavy things on board into the sea to lighten the ship. But the water still kept entering the ship, and Sang Nila Utama threw his heavy crown overboard from advice of a ship officer. At once, the storm died down and he reached Temasek safely. When he reached Temasek, he saw a strange animal with a red body, black head and a white breast. It was a fine-looking animal and moved with great speed as it disappeared into the jungle. He asked his chief minister what animal it was, and the chief minister said it was probably a lion. He was pleased with this as he believed it was to be a good omen, a sign of good fortune coming his way. Thus, he decided to build his new city in Temasek. He and his men stayed on the island and founded a city. He named this city Singapura. Singa means lion and Pura means city, thus the name Lion City. Legend of Parameswara. Parameswara was the last king of Singapura who ruled from 1389 to 1398. The fall of Singapore and the flight of his last king began with Iskandar Shah's accusation of one of his concubines of adultery. As punishment, the king had her stripped naked in public. The concubine's father, Sang Rajuna Tapa, was also an official in Iskandar Shah's court. He secretly sent a message to the king of Majapahit and pledged his support should the king choose to invade Singapura. In 1398, Majapahit dispatched a fleet of 300 main warships and hundreds of smaller vessels, carrying no less than 200,000 men. Initially, the Javanese soldiers engaged with the defenders in the battle outside the fortress, forcing them to retreat behind the walls. The invasion force laid a siege of the city and repeatedly tried to attack the fortress. However, the fortress proved to be impregnable. Food in the fortress began to run low, and the defenders were on the verge of starvation. Sang Rajuna Tapa was then asked to distribute whatever grain left to the people from the royal store. When the minister lied to the king, he said that the stores were empty, the grains were not distributed, and the people eventually starved. The final assault came, and gates were opened under the order of the treacherous minister. The Majapahit soldiers rushed into the fortress and a terrible massacre ensued. Legend of Wang Zayuan. Written in 1349, Wang Zayuan's Dao Yi Zhilue is the only Chinese first-hand account of 14th century Temasek. In 1330, Wang Zayuan took advantage of the relaxed trade regulation under Mongol rule to travel extensively in Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean. He described Temasek as comprising two settlements. Banzu, after the Malay word Pankar or freshwater spring, is a peaceful trading port city under the rule of a local chief. The second settlement he described as Long Yamen, an area which is likely stretched from Keppel Bay south or northwestern side of Sentosa and west to what it was today Labrador Park, which was occupied by ferocious pirates who launched frequent attacks on passing merchant ships. Strangely, he notes that Chinese live here side by side with the natives. The Sejarah Melayu, the Malay Annals, is a semi-legendary account of the Malay Golden Age. The text was compiled by different people at various times. There are about 30 versions of the text. The Raffles MS-18 manuscript is generally accepted as the earliest recension. The purpose of the manuscript was merely to legitimate the rule of sultans of Johor by tracing their royal lineage, the legendary Malay rulers of Srividaya, Temasek, and Malacca. The Najarakretagama is an epic Javanese poem written in 1365, also referred to a settlement on the island Temasek, sea town. The following pictures are historical artifacts found in the 13th century to the 14th century. These are the internet sources. These are the book sources.